Okay, something that I neglected to see on the website when I bought this. This kit is not designed for the small form factor, only for the desktop and mid-tower versions of the OptiPlex 9020. So that has meant that I can use the power connector adapter, but not this one. This one does not fit the motherboard. The pins are entirely different on the reverse of it. It cannot go onto the motherboard at all, so there are going to be some missing I/O port support if you do this with an SFF. Basically, you're not going to be able to have your audio and headphone outs on the top of the case. So if we have a look here, that means these two ports here are not going to work if you do put an SFF board in. The good news is the USB 3 do, and I'll show you the connector for that. Obviously this has got USB 3, there's no support for that on this motherboard, and so that won't be working either with this case. The power switch should allow us hopefully to get the power switch, maybe the reset switch, but not the hard drive light. So I've put in the top corner, I don't know if you can see it, I'll try and illuminate it with my head torch. In this top corner here, just over here, that is where I've mounted the converter for the power switch. And now the problem is that it's designed, this little board, for sort of single connectors for your power switch, reset switch, things like that. And with this case, it all comes in an all-in-one like this. Now it will go on, and probably I'll be able to get it on in such a sort of situation that it'll short the pin for the power sufficiently to start the machine. But as a backup, I've bought an external power switch, one that you can put out through a vent in the bottom of the case, and it sits on your desktop and you can start the PC that way. So it's an additional mod that I don't want, but we may have to do it, but I won't be able to try yet because I can't power up the board at the moment. So that's fine. As I say, can't do the HD audio USB 2, which I think is what this particular, and the HD hard drive LED is all on there as well. So that's HD audio, USB 2 and hard drive LED on that one. So none of that's going to work, but that doesn't matter for my build. I'm not concerned about that because I have an external audio device anyway with separate headphone ports on it, and that runs via USB of this motherboard, so not an issue for me at all, so I can continue with the build. So the other things we've got ready are up here. You can see I've finally put the 12 volt CPU power. I'm going to turn my headlamp off because it's you're getting a bit of, where's that coming? There we are. If I do that, that's better. I've got a light on to illuminate everything and it's making it hard to see. But there is a 12 volt PCIe connector for the CPU power. We've still got to put the CPU cooler, ARGB cooler that's arriving, still hasn't come yet. Hopefully we'll be here soon. I can get that on and start to get that cable up. And I'm waiting on some other cables to convert the ARGB fans so that they will plug onto the board over. I'll just lift this up a little bit. There is a power one here somewhere. It's behind here, I think. You can't see it, but it's the power for the ARGB fan, so it's the old sys fan connector. This coming through here is that power connector. USB 3 was very easy. That plugs straight onto the board because the connector was the same, and you can see it's a dual cable going back up to the I/O port on the top of the board. Don't know why it's a dual cable. I think it's one each for each USB 3 port that's on the top. So that is it pretty much for the moment. As I say, I'm waiting on other items to arrive. For now, I've just taken the old system fan and I've just connected it to the board, because there apparently is a problem. If you don't have anything connected to the board, you'll get an error on starting up the machine. You have to press F1 to bypass. I temporarily connected that. This is the port that will have my converted 5-pin ARGB connector on. So yeah, just waiting now. Just waiting for all these parts. Can't do anything else until those bits and pieces arrive, but after that it should be fairly quick to get together and get this fired up. Yeah, we'll leave it there for now. Thing to show you is the SSD, which is mounted on one of these. These are very easy. You just pop them up. They're on like rubber grommets, and when you pop them off, this plate comes off and it screws onto the SSD drive with some supplied screws that come with the case, which is good, and then you just clip it back on, so it's very easy to remove. I've put SATA power connectors on the power supply, one for this SSD, one is for the one port is for the ARGB, and I've got another one spare that will power add extra power to the ARGB setup so that I can run all 4 fans rather than just the front 3. Okay, so finally the build is complete. The remaining parts I was waiting for from various vendors have arrived that have allowed me to finish everything off. And the main things that I was waiting for were the 4-pin to 5-pin PWM fan converters. So you can see I've got one of those now. You might be able to see it's just behind there, and the cable is going up here to the back, and that's connected to all of the case fans. And then I needed another one, which I've used here, which I've just put a sleeve on to cover the horrible multicoloured cables up, and that was for the new CPU cooler. I bought, this is supposedly an ARGB cooler, but it only comes with one single 3-pin connector to convert to a 5-pin onto the motherboard. So I'm presuming this is ARGB controlled if you have a fancy motherboard, and it can do it through the motherboard connector, but it doesn't have another connector to go anywhere else, you know, off to the ARGB controller that's mounted to the case. So I might try and daisy chain that in, but for the moment that is just doing its own thing. It's not following the pattern of the case fans. But good little cooler, was very easy to fit. Came with a multi-socket sort of adapter that just went onto the motherboard in place of you know, where the original holes for the original stock cooler went through to the back of the case. And it had some plastic screws that went into that to go into the motherboard that could be mounted in several positions to support several different socket types. It was very easy to do, and the cooler just mounted on that perfectly with some clips that clip onto that bracket on either side. Real doddle. Came with the thermal paste as well, which was brilliant. And this draws in cool air from this fan and blows it through the heatsink. So I think I've got that in a good orientation, that the cool air is going to come from the front fans, it's going to hit this fan, which is going to blow it through the heatsink, and it's going to be extracted through the back of the case through the 4th fan. So that all looks good. Everything else is connected, so I'm going to put the sides on, and then we're going to fire it up and see what happens. The only other thing that I have done is I've found the cable that had the sort of chassis intrusion detector. It's like a switch, and what I've done is I've connected that to the motherboard, and I've just laid it down in this crevice here, and I've also connected the PC speaker as well, just in case there's any beeps on startup. You know, I'll be able to hear them through the speaker, but also in case the chassis intrusion causes a startup issue and, you know, you have to override with F1. I've put that in and hidden that away, so that will just hopefully do the job. So I believe, I've had a look on YouTube, I believe I'm the first person that I've found that has successfully put a 9020 Dell OptiPlex SFF small form factor board, CPU and RAM into a new case, and hopefully got it working. A lot of the other videos I've seen have been, well, some of them have been ridiculous. They've started off saying they're going to do the SFF full conversion into a new case, and then decided to only port the CPU over, actually changing the motherboard as well, which is not a case conversion of a small form factor Dell OptiPlex, is it? But this is, with this case. One more thing. The power switch for this case, the power switch, reset switch, power LED are not on separate connectors. They're all in a one single block connector, and on one side of the block you've got one pin that's blocked. If you overhang that and mount it straight onto the new board, switchboard that we put on, that converts it to the motherboard, it should power up. Let's see. Okay, I've put the tempered glass side panels on now, so you can see they're very reflective with the light, so hopefully when the lights come on inside you'll be able to see. Sorry about the fingerprints I've just put on it, but I can't deal with that, so we're going to have to dust that off quickly and get that up looking better. And I've also taken the same plastic film off the front, so I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm just going to draw the curtain to one side just to stop the sun, because it's shining in here for a change in the UK, so we can see it a bit better. And let's turn her on. Okay, case fans, all four, are fired up. You can't see very well, they're on a sort of multicoloured rainbow pattern at the moment. CPU coolers working okay. If it just stops focusing, if I draw back, is it going to focus? No, it's not. If I go forward with it just a bit, so you can see that's working. Everything's firing up, I think. We have got a stop error, and it's because of the I/O cable. Now this is not a biggie, you can press F1 to override this, but there is also a solution online. Apparently the I/O board that we wasn't able to use, which is down there, on pins 7 and 8, you can just simply put a jumper and it'll fool it into thinking it's got the I/O board connected, and you'll get round this. I'm not going to bore you with that, I will do that another time, but we'll press F1 and just let's hope that the Windows logo, we're doing alright. So far so good. So the SATA cable's all working, new SATA power from the power supply. Looks like things are going to be okay, he says. Yes, we've got a Windows screen. Let's see if we can get in. And we're in. All looking good. Okay, so I don't know if you can see the CPU cooler is cycling through colours because it is just mounted onto this board. It's doing its own thing. It's not controlled by the same ARGB controller currently that is doing the 4 case fans. But I might be able to change that with some modifications to the cabling, but once again I won't bore you with that, because you know what we've done here is we've got a Dell OptiPlex 9020 small form factor and we've transformed it. I mean, look at that, isn't that beautiful? A lot nicer to look at. It's going to be a lot cooler. This CPU cooler is going to do a much better job than the stock one, and overall in the case it's going to do a much better job. The airflow in there is going to be, I would imagine, 100 times better. And I've got plenty of room in there now to mount the GPU of my liking and the power supply to support it. You know, turning this into a great digital audio and video workstation for me, but it could be a very nice gaming computer for somebody else. So there are a few caveats to this build, and let's go through them. You know, whilst we've got the majority of the top panel here working, we can cycle through the colours, and I'll show you some of the other ones. Bear with me while I find the button. Yeah, so you know, there are various colour options and breathing options on those colours, and sort of rainbow colours as well, you know, spinning rainbow colours. There are a lot. I think 14 in all. And we do have the power switch working, because we managed to find the correct pin area for this. Not sure about the reset switch, I won't try that. We haven't got any hard drive LED lights, because the hard drive LED is controlled on the other board, the other I/O board, and we can't get a cable to that. I'm not too worried about that. There might be a way to get around that. We haven't got front panel audio either, but once again, I don't worry about that because I've got a USB audio controller, so that is handling all my audio via USB connection to this PC, and I've got headphone support on it anyway. It's a lot better than the stock audio. So for me, that wasn't a biggie to lose the hard drive light and the front audio. We have got the USB 3 support, because we were able to get that cable to fit onto the motherboard, and we obviously haven't got USB-C support because this motherboard doesn't support that. But we have got the ARGB controlled LED switch. So that is all that we've lost from doing this build, but the rest of it works. And on the final slide, I'm going to put a breakdown of the parts and where I've got them, and I will also put that information into the description. So if you have one of these old Dell OptiPlex small form factor 9020s, you can look at doing this yourself. But a very enjoyable build, well worthwhile. Many thanks to all the eBay sellers that supplied me with all the parts, and of course the vendors that supplied the case, MSI. You make a lovely case. A lot of people say that it's overpriced, this case, but I think it's well worth it, and I think it looks beautiful. You know, it's got a great LED strip as well along the bottom, you know, between where your graphics card goes and your power supply, that also matches the ARGB lighting. It's beautiful. I'm well pleased with it. So I hope you enjoyed that different video, not crypto related, but I use this for my, as I say, for my video production. In fact, this video will be created on it now, and it's going to come in useful, a lot more useful with a GPU in it. I can get my videos rendered a lot quicker. So please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it. Subscribe if you haven't already, and hit the bell notification icon if you want to be notified when I put up my next lot of content, and that may be future builds, because I've got a Dell Precision 3620 in the other room that's currently doing a combination of farming Chia and mining Casper, and the case is in a hell of a state, and the 300 watt power supply in it is no good at all. So that will be my next venture, to get a Dell Precision in nicely into a new case with better airflow and of course beautiful lighting. Okay, so that's all for now. I'll see you next time.